Picture this scenario for a moment. You're standing in your kitchen. It's 7 o'clock in the evening and she walks in with that look. You know the one I'm talking about. That expression that makes your chest tighten before she even opens her mouth. Not because she's going to scream. No, screaming would be merciful. Screaming would be honest. Instead, she sigh. That small, disappointed exhale that says more than 1,000 words ever could. And in that moment, you feel yourself shrinking, becoming less than what you were 5 seconds ago. And here's the twisted part. The part that will make you question everything. She thinks she's being reasonable. She thinks she's being the mature one, the patient one, the one who's holding it all together, while you, poor, inadequate you, just can't seem to get anything right. Let me tell you something that took me 37 years to understand. Something I learned not from books or seminars, but from watching my own soul get methodically dismantled piece by piece. A woman doesn't need to raise her voice to destroy a man. She doesn't need to throw plates or slam doors. All she needs is that special combination of disappointment and entitlement that turns a grown man into a boy desperately trying to earn his mother's approval. And the sickest part? We let them do it. We practically beg for it. Because somewhere deep in our programming, we've been taught that a woman's happiness is our responsibility, that her emotional state is our report card, that if she's not satisfied, we've failed as men. I remember sitting in my apartment 3 years ago, completely alone for the first time in a decade, and realizing something that should have been obvious, but wasn't. Every decision I'd made for the past 10 years, every single one, from what job I took to what shirt I wore to what I ate for breakfast, had been filtered through the lens of what will she think? Not what do I want? Not what's best for me, not what makes sense, but what will make her happy. What will avoid that look? What will prevent that sigh? What will finally be enough? You want to know the answer? Nothing. Nothing is ever enough for someone who sees you not as a partner, but as a project, not as a human, but as a provider of services, not as a man, but as a disappointment waiting to happen. You see, there's this beautiful lie we've all been sold. This fairy tale that says, if you just love hard enough, sacrifice enough, provide enough, she'll finally see your worth. She'll finally appreciate you. She'll finally transform into that soft, loving creature you thought you were marrying. But here's what actually happens. And listen carefully, because this will save you years of agony. The more you give, the less she respects you. The more you sacrifice, the more she expects. The more you try to please her, the more disgusted she becomes with your weakness. It's not a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's how the whole thing is designed to work. Let me paint you a picture of how this destruction happens. And pay attention because you're probably living it right now without even realizing it. It starts with the devaluation, the subtle art of making everything you do seem insignificant, expected, the bare minimum. You work 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Well, that's what men are supposed to do. You fix things around the house. That's basic adulting. You spend time with the kids. Congratulations. You're doing what every father should do. Do you want a medal? You planned a nice dinner. Other husbands planned vacations to Paris. You bought her flowers. They're the wrong color or they're nice, but you only did it because you feel guilty about something. Watch how quickly gratitude disappears from the relationship. When was the last time she genuinely thanked you for something? Not that perfunctory thanks thrown over her shoulder, but real heartfelt appreciation for what you do, for who you are, for the weight you carry. You know why she doesn't thank you? Because in her mind, you're not doing her favors. You're fulfilling obligations. You're meeting the minimum requirements of your job description as her man, and nobody thanks their employee for showing up to work. But God forbid you don't thank her for every little thing she does. She cooks dinner. You better act like she's Gordon Ramsay. She does laundry. That's a heroic act of self-sacrifice. She takes care of the kids that you both decided to have. She's a saint, a martyr, Wonder Woman herself. And if you forget to acknowledge her contributions, if you don't sufficiently worship at the altar of her efforts, you're an ungrateful bastard who doesn't appreciate everything she does for this family. The second weapon in her arsenal, and this one is particularly vicious, is control disguised as concern. Where were you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer immediately? I saw you were online at 11:47, but you didn't respond to my message until 11:52. What were you doing for those 5 minutes? She'll frame it as caring about you, wanting to know about your day, being interested in your life, but what she's really doing is putting a GPS tracker on your soul, making sure you know that every moment of your existence is subject to her approval and inspection. And here's where it gets really sick. The more you comply with this surveillance, the more you try to be transparent and accommodate her need for control, the more she despises you for it. Because deep down, she doesn't want a man she can control. She wants a man she can't control, but who chooses to be with her anyway. But she can't help herself. She has to test, has to push, has to see how much you'll tolerate. And every time you tolerate it, every time you hand over your phone without protest, every time you explain where you were and who you were with, like a teenager reporting to his parents, a little piece of her attraction to you dies. This constant state of surveillance creates something I call preemptive paralysis. You stop doing things not because they're wrong, but because explaining them will be exhausting. You don't go for a beer with your friend because the interrogation afterward isn't worth it. You don't take that different route home because she'll wonder why your commute took 10 minutes longer. You don't join that gym because she'll think you're trying to impress someone. Slowly, methodically, your world shrinks until the only safe space is right next to her, doing exactly what she expects, being exactly who she wants you to be, which is nobody at all. Now let's talk about conflict, the daily warfare that she'll swear she hates but somehow can't stop creating. Every conversation becomes a minefield. Every interaction a potential argument. Every difference of opinion a relationship crisis. But here's what you need to understand about these conflicts. They're not about the dishes, or the way you loaded the dishwasher, or the fact that you forgot to pick up milk. They're about power. They're about making sure you know your place. They're about keeping you in a constant state of defensive anxiety where you're always wrong, always apologizing, always trying to make it right. She's mastered the art of what I call emotional terrorism. She knows exactly which buttons to push to get you reactive, to make you raise your voice so she can play the victim, to make you walk away so she can accuse you of not caring, to make you engage so she can exhaust you with circular arguments that have no resolution. Because resolution was never the point. The point was to drain you, to deplete your emotional resources, to make sure you don't have enough energy left to realize what's happening to you. And when you're completely drained, when you're running on emotional empty, that's when she hits you with the expectations. You should be more romantic. You should make more money. You should be more handy around the house. You should be more involved with the kids, but also give her more space. You should be more aggressive in bed, but also more sensitive to her needs. You should be a provider, but also emotionally available. You should be strong, but also vulnerable. You should be independent, but also completely devoted to her. You should be everything to everyone at all times. And when you inevitably fail because these demands are literally impossible to meet simultaneously, she gets to be disappointed in you again. Here's a truth that will hurt, but might save your sanity. She creates problems because your attention to problems is the only attention she knows how to process. She doesn't know how to exist in peace, in harmony, in simple contentment. She needs drama like a plant needs water. She needs conflict like lungs need air. Because without it, she has to face the terrible reality that she doesn't actually know who she is or what she wants. She only knows she's not happy. And since you're the man in her life, that must be your fault. I watched this happen to my brother over 15 years. Started out as this confident guy, owned his own business, had interests, had friends, had a life. 15 years later, he's asking his wife permission to buy a coffee on the way to work. He's explaining why he needs new work boots, like he's defending a dissertation. He's turned down 3 promotions because she said it would mean too much time away from home. But when he's home, she complains he's always underfoot. He doesn't even see it. He thinks this is normal. He thinks this is what marriage is. He thinks this is love. But here's what really breaks a man, what really grinds him down to nothing. It's not the control or the conflicts or the criticism. It's the moving goalposts, the impossible standards, the fact that success is literally impossible because the game is rigged. Today, she wants you to be more emotionally available. So, you open up. You share your fears, your dreams, your insecurities. Tomorrow, she's disgusted by your weakness. She can't be attracted to a man who cries, who has doubts, who needs reassurance. So, you toughen up. You become stoic. You handle your problems yourself. Now you're emotionally distant. You're cold. You don't share anything with her. You're like living with a stranger. You literally cannot win, because winning isn't part of the design. The design is to keep you perpetually off balance, constantly trying to figure out what she wants, constantly failing, constantly trying harder. It's like being in a casino where the house always wins, except you can't leave, and you've bet your entire life on a game you don't understand and can't possibly win. Let me tell you about the moment I really woke up to what was happening. I just gotten a promotion, biggest career achievement of my life, something I'd worked toward for 5 years. I came home excited to share the news. And you know what she said? I guess this means you'll be home even less now. Not congratulations, not pride, not happiness for my success. Just immediate translation into how this would negatively impact her. And in that moment, something clicked. I realized that no achievement would ever be celebrated. No success would ever be enough. No amount of proving myself would ever make her see me as anything other than a disappointing service provider who consistently failed to meet her unstated and constantly changing expectations. The really insidious part is how she'll frame all of this as your failure to be a real man. A real man would know what she wants without being told. A real man wouldn't be bothered by her moods. A real man would provide everything she needs while needing nothing himself. A real man would be grateful for the opportunity to serve her. She's not destroying you. You see, she's just disappointed that you're not living up to your potential. And isn't it lucky that she's here to constantly remind you of all the ways you're failing? And here's where it gets really dark. After years of this, you start to believe it. You start to think, maybe you really are inadequate. Maybe you really are lucky she tolerates you. Maybe you really should be grateful she hasn't left you for someone better. Your entire sense of self gets warped around her dissatisfaction. You lose track of who you were before her constant disappointment became the soundtrack of your life. You forget that you once had confidence, had pride, had a sense of your own worth that didn't depend on whether or not she was having a good day. The bedroom becomes another battlefield, another place where you can't possibly win. When you initiate, you're a sex-crazed animal who only thinks about one thing. When you don't initiate, you're not attracted to her anymore. You must be cheating. You must be gay. Something must be wrong with you. The sex itself becomes a performance review where you're constantly being graded and consistently found lacking. Too fast, too slow, too rough, too gentle, too predictable, too weird. And God forbid you ever have a moment of dysfunction, because that becomes a relationship crisis that requires endless discussion and reassurance. But not too much reassurance, because then you're needy. She weaponizes her emotions while denying you the right to have any. Her bad day at work means the entire household needs to walk on eggshells. Your bad day at work means you need to man up and not bring negativity home. Her stress is valid and requires support. Your stress is self-created and you need to handle it better. Her tears are genuine expressions of pain. Your tears are manipulation or weakness. Her anger is justified. Your anger is abuse. And through all of this, she maintains the narrative that she's the one suffering. She's the one who sacrificed everything. She's the one who deserves better. She gave up her dreams for you, even though you never asked her to. She could have had anyone, but she chose you. And look how you repay her. She does everything for this family while you just go to work, as if going to work. To support the family is some kind of vacation, as if the pressure of being the provider is a privilege rather than a burden. The isolation is strategic. Your friends become problems. That buddy you've known since high school, he's a bad influence. Your brother, he never liked her anyway. Your parents, they're too involved in your life. One by one, your support network gets eliminated until she's the only voice in your head, the only perspective you hear, the only judge of your worth. And once you're completely isolated, once you have nowhere else to turn for reality checks, that's when the real destruction begins. She'll rewrite history to make you the villain of every story. That time you forgot your anniversary becomes evidence of your complete disregard for the relationship. That argument you had 3 years ago becomes proof of your abusive tendencies. Every mistake you've ever made gets cataloged and filed away to be brought out whenever she needs to remind you why you're lucky she stays with you. Meanwhile, her mistakes were just reactions to your failures. Her cruelties were just responses to your inadequacies. Her betrayals were just what you drove her to do. Now, here's the kicker. The thing that will really mess with your head occasionally, just often enough to keep you hooked. She'll be sweet. She'll be the woman you fell in love with. She'll be soft and loving and appreciative, and you'll think, this is it. We've turned a corner. Things are going to be different now. But it never lasts, because that sweetness isn't real change. It's just intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful psychological tool for creating addiction and dependency. Those moments of sweetness are calculated to keep you hoping, to keep you trying, to keep you believing that if you just figure out the right combination, you can make her happy all the time. But you can't, because her unhappiness isn't about you. It never was. Her unhappiness is about her, about wounds she carried long before she met you, about needs that no human could possibly meet, about a void that no amount of your sacrifice could ever fill. You're not her partner. You're her emotional support animal. You're her punching bag. You're her excuse for why her life isn't what she thought it would be. And as long as you stay in that role, as long as you accept that treatment, she'll keep destroying you. Not because she's evil, but because you're letting her. Because you've agreed to be destroyed. The solution, and this is going to sound too simple, but it's the truth, is to stop participating in your own destruction. Stop trying to make her happy. It's not your job, and it's literally impossible. Stop explaining yourself. You don't owe her an accounting of every minute of your day. Stop apologizing for existing, for having needs, for being human. Stop asking permission to live your own life. Stop treating her disappointment as a crisis you need to solve. I know what you're thinking, but if I do that, she'll leave. And maybe she will. But let me ask you something. What exactly would you be losing? A woman who doesn't respect you? A woman who sees you as a constant disappointment? A woman who's slowly grinding your soul into dust? That's not loss. That's liberation. That's getting your life back. That's remembering who you were before you became a supporting character in her drama. The truth is, and this is what took me too long to understand, a woman who truly loves you doesn't want to destroy you. She wants to build with you, grow with you, face life with you as a partner, not as your supervisor or your critic or your judge. She wants to see you succeed, celebrates your victories, supports you through your failures. She doesn't keep score, doesn't hold grudges, doesn't use your vulnerabilities as weapons. She adds to your life instead of constantly subtracting from it. If you're with a woman who makes you feel smaller, weaker, less than what you are, she doesn't love you. She might need you, might be dependent on you, might be terrified of being alone. But that's not love. Love doesn't diminish. Love amplifies. Love doesn't exhaust. Love energizes. Love doesn't create anxiety. Love creates peace. If what you're experiencing doesn't feel like that, it's not love. It's something else. Something toxic. Something that will eventually consume everything good in you if you let it. I want you to do something right now. Think about the last time you felt genuinely happy, genuinely relaxed, genuinely yourself. Was she there? Or were you alone, or with friends, or anywhere but with her? If the happiest moments of your life are the ones where she's absent, what does that tell you about what she brings to your life? If you feel lighter when she's gone and heavier when she returns, what does that say about the weight she places on your soul? You have one life, one shot at this existence, and you're spending it being slowly dissolved by someone who sees you as a combination ATM and emotional janitor. You're spending it apologizing for who you are, shrinking yourself to fit into her narrow definition of acceptable, dying a little more each day to keep someone else comfortable in their dysfunction. Is that really how you want to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years? Is that the legacy you want to leave? Is that the example you want to set for your children? Because here's what your kids are learning by watching this dynamic. Your sons are learning that men exist to serve women's emotions, that their needs don't matter, that love means accepting disrespect. Your daughters are learning that they can treat men however they want, that their feelings are more important than anyone else's, that they deserve to be catered to simply because they exist. You're not just destroying yourself. You're teaching the next generation that this destruction is normal, acceptable, what love looks like. The way out is simpler than you think, but harder than you can imagine. You have to be willing to be seen as the bad guy, because when you stop participating in the dysfunction, she's going to paint you as selfish, cruel, abandoning. You have to be willing to disappoint her, because her disappointment has been controlling you for years. And breaking free means not caring about it anymore. You have to be willing to be alone, because being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. Start small. Say no to something, anything, without justifying or explaining. Leave the house without asking permission or providing a detailed itinerary. Have an opinion that differs from hers and stick to it even when she tries to argue you out of it. Watch how she reacts. Watch how she escalates. Watch how she pulls out every tool in her manipulation toolkit to get you back in line. And then watch how, if you don't cave, if you don't crumble, if you don't go back to being her obedient servant, she either has to respect you or reveal her true nature. Some women, when faced with a man who won't be destroyed, will actually become better partners. They'll realize that the drama and control weren't making them happy either, and they'll adjust. But many won't. Many will escalate until the relationship becomes untenable. And that's okay, because a relationship where you have to accept being destroyed to keep it going isn't a relationship worth saving. The most important thing to understand is that this isn't about becoming some kind of tyrant or treating her badly. It's about having boundaries, having self-respect, having a life that exists independent of her approval. It's about being a whole person instead of a supporting character. It's about remembering that you matter. Your needs matter. Your happiness matters. And anyone who tries to convince you otherwise doesn't deserve a place in your life. Look, I know this is hard to hear. I know you've probably invested years, maybe decades into this relationship. I know there are probably kids involved, shared assets, a whole life built around this dysfunction. But staying in a situation that's destroying you isn't noble. It's not being a good father or a good man. It's teaching everyone around you that it's acceptable to treat you like garbage, and eventually, you'll start believing you deserve it. You don't deserve it. You deserve a partner who sees you, appreciates you, supports you, loves you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. You deserve peace in your own home, relaxation in your own bed, the freedom to be yourself without constant criticism and judgment. You deserve a woman who adds to your life instead of constantly subtracting from it. The choice is yours. You can continue letting her destroy you piece by piece until there's nothing left but a hollow shell going through the motions. Or you can stop participating in your own destruction. Reclaim your life and either transform your relationship or find someone who actually wants to be with you, not just with what you can provide. Either way, the first step is recognizing what's happening, admitting that this isn't love, this isn't normal, and this isn't what you have to accept. Your future self is depending on the decision you make right now. The man you could be, the life you could have, the peace you could experience. It's all waiting on the other side of your willingness to stop being destroyed. Don't wait another day, another month, another year. Don't wait until there's nothing left of you to save. The time is now. The choice is yours. And your life, your actual life, not this half existence you've been accepting, is waiting for you to choose yourself for once.